What's good, Chiefs Kingdom? It's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. It means it's episode 9 of the Kingdom Cast, a very special Raider Week edition of the show. We'll break down the game here against the Green Bay Packers. Kind of an interesting game, a little bit different than some of the other games that we've played this year. We'll obviously give some Chiefs news and notes, break down, talk about the game against the Las Vegas Raiders this Sunday night. Sunday Night Football, national primetime game. Should be a lot of fun. If you're joining us in the show and you haven't already, please click that subscribe and like button. Turn on the notifications, ring that little bell. We'd appreciate that. It helps us out. It helps you remember and come in, jump in, join the show. We'd appreciate it if you leave some comments, send us some questions, be part of the show. Fellas, I'm joined like always with Nick and Bo here. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Anytime we win, it feels great. Don't have to watch the team lose all week. Don't know how much of a win that really was. I mean, everybody's kind of considering it a loss, even though we won. But I'll take it. Win's a win. Nick, how are you feeling about it?
Well, we didn't lose to the Jaguars, so I'm feeling pretty good. A tough game, but we ended on a high note, a little glimpse of some Mahomes magic. So enough to leave you wanting more for next week. So, I mean, like you said, 2-game winning streak. I mean, it's ugly, but it's a win. So.
Yeah, victory Mondays and then week after a win is always much more fun than week after a loss, no doubt. We'll start breaking down that game here in a moment. But, Bo, you said you're not sure how much a win it is, and there's people online and pundits and the cable news, the cable sports networks talking about, that it was a cheap win because they didn't play. Was anybody calling the Packers win against us a couple of years ago a cheap win when they needed, to come down to the wire to beat us with Matt Moore? So I don't know about all that noise, but yeah, we're gonna start off here with some Chiefs news and notes. Didn't really see much as far as injuries go this week, so nothing really to report there. On a similar subject, Kyle Long has been cleared to play, it looks like, or at least start practicing with the team. Maybe provide some help and some depth on that offensive line. A lot of people were excited when the Chiefs signed him in the offseason, and then he had the injury, which has kind of been his story, right? Injuries. And then in training camp, and he started off the season inactive. He's been trying to work his way back. Be interesting to see how the Chiefs use him after missing all this time and coming back from injury. Real quick, what do you guys think about Kyle Long? What are you expecting? Nick?
I think that, our offensive line actually has put together a couple of fairly decent games. And if you look at, I think, some of the Pro Football Focus grades from that last game, our linemen, both offensive and defensive, were some of our highest rated players. So it's always good to add depth. If they're thinking that, he could replace one of the rookies on the line, we have that experience, as long as it doesn't, cause too much disruption. Now that squad has a half a season under their belt, I'm okay with it. If anything, maybe having some more experience on the line gives Mahomes a little bit more confidence in the line. So, it's never a bad thing to hear that somebody's coming back from injury. So. But I'm not sure exactly what we have with Long.
Right. I'm with Nick. I don't know exactly if he's going to come in and be a game changer right away. But one of the clear, obvious weaknesses of our offense is the offensive line, whether it's not giving Patrick Mahomes enough time or just not creating good enough run blocking. But, it'd be interesting to see. I hope nothing but the best, right? I hope he comes in, if anything, gets everybody else going and, gives us that edge.
Yeah, and he plays right tackle, correct? That's kind of his position.
I think so, yeah.
Chiefs have had some issues with Lucas Niang. Started off the year as the starter. They're on the right side of that tackle position. he struggled a little bit maybe. Then he had an injury. Mike Rimmers has come on in his place and been the starter the last few weeks. He's had mixed reviews depending on what you read and where you go. He also, I think he's been maybe dealing with an injury now here too. So could be good timing to get him back.
Yeah.
Looks like Bo's gone on injured reserve here. He's got to take a couple plays off or something. I don't know. In-show injury to Bo, so we'll wait for him
Randy
to
Moss
get back.
special, taking plays off.
Taking plays off already. I imagine he'll probably get back in here pretty quick. So we'll wait for him to jump back. Up there he is right there.
Sorry about that. Puppy woes. I had a puppy
You're
trip
good,
over
man.
there.
You're good. Yeah, I was just talking about the offensive line. They've had some issues there. Lucas Niang had injuries at right tackle, the open of the season starter at that position. And then Mike Rimmers kind of took over for him and played a few weeks and has kind of taken that starter duty back over. He was on the team last year, but he's maybe had some mixed reviews on his performance out there. And also I think he's maybe dealing with like a slight injury now as well. So maybe that's good. Maybe it's just in time for Kyle Long to start getting healthy and start getting some practice and game reps. Like Nick mentioned, offensive line, they like to, people talk about that position needing to gel and get some cohesiveness and work together. So maybe they try to move him in slowly. We'll have to see. Maybe circumstance dictate, though, that he gets in there a little bit more and a little bit faster. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Another kind of a cool note thing, Chiefs won their 500th game Sunday. Kind of cool that, and maybe you could do this with any team, right, because they've been playing for so long, but did it against a team that they played in the first Super Bowl, in the Green Bay Packers. And then here we are all these years later, and the Chiefs pick up their 500th win. The Chiefs, everybody probably watch and follows the Chiefs on their social media. They put out a pretty cool stat, and it talked about how many wins they had at home as opposed to on the road. They had the most winningest players of all time. It's pretty cool to see Dustin Colquitt on there. Obviously, he was the punter for the Chiefs that's like a longevity thing, but and then they had just some other cool stats. 500 wins it's 500 wins. It's kind of a neat milestone. Did you guys see the video where they presented Clark Hunt with the game ball there in the locker room after the game?
No, I didn't see that.
It was pretty cool. Andy Reid gave it, to Clark Hunt, and the team's kind of celebrating, and obviously just a cool milestone for the organization. Been in Kansas City a long time, so pretty neat to see that happen. Subsequently, they congratulated Andy Reid. He's moved into a tie for fifth all time, right?
Yes.
Fifth all time. Yeah.
Fifth all time in NFL head coaching wins. He ties Curly Lambeau, which once you start getting your name up there on lists, you're tying and passing guys like Curly Lambeau and Don Shula and some.
Yeah, he's got like Shula and Belichick left, a couple big, you know what I mean? Like he's up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously don't need me to tell you probably that Lambeau Fields is Curly Lambeau, the legendary coach from the Packers from back in the early era of the AFL and NFL when they did the merger. So kind of a cool few bits of history there for the team and for Andy Reid. What do you guys think? Andy Reid, he's obviously a Hall of Fame coach. Where would you put him, you think, right now with the guys coaching in the NFL? Where would you guys, anybody you put ahead of him? You got him tied, you got him at the top. Where do you guys think he's at right now, Bo?
I mean, you'd have to put an asterisk on this season so far because, he's really trying to make a argument against himself for being the greatest of all time with this season. But I remember when the Chiefs first signed him, I couldn't be happier. We were doing this weird thing where Romeo Crennel was trying to wear three hats at once, and we went through a slew of just coaches and OCs that just didn't know what they were doing. So, Andy Reid coming in here was like more than a breath of fresh air. I loved it. That was like the greatest news and you could immediately see the impact he had. The players loved it. He brought in great talent. He coached some of the greater. We're seeing greater Chiefs now, like Jamal Charles and Alex Smith. Those guys are going to be in Chiefs legacy forever, and he coached them. But now, like with the Super Bowl team, it's just cementing him as being one of the all-time greats. He's got a long way to go, though. He's still 100 games behind Shula, I think, who has the most. So that's a couple more seasons. You know what I mean? I don't know if he has that kind of longevity. Kind of going back to what I was talking about this season. His play calling's been super interesting this season. We're squeaking by some wins, and in the long run, that's going to be what ultimately counts. But I like to see some changes going forward, coaching wise. I think I text that to you guys all the time. Just like these play calls are unreal. But he's a genius in his own right. I love the plays that he does come up with. Like we saw the Rose Bowl parade and the Super Bowl and stuff like that. He comes up with some, or he didn't come up with it, but he brings out some old school plays and implements them. I kind of like that aspect about him. Not afraid to run trick plays. In my mind, he's always been like a conservative coach, though. He's always been one to either go for a field goal or just go for a tie rather than go for a win or a touchdown. So I'm kind of torn. I don't think he's the GOAT, but man, he's right there nipping at the heels of the GOAT. So,
Nick, what do you think about Andy Reid?
Well, you're at the point now where the coaches that have won more games than him, you can put on one hand, right? Less than one hand. So, he's the only coach to have 100 wins or more with two different franchises. He took both of those franchises to a Super Bowl, right? And he's gone to multiple with the Chiefs. So he did it not only with different teams and different quarterbacks as well. He has a culture of winning pretty much everywhere where he goes. I know that he's had some slumps and some down years. It did not end well for him in Philly, and he admittedly said, he kind of had too much power there. He's the only coach to have 3 straight AFC championships in his home stadium. So he's got some accolades in there, right? He doesn't have the Super Bowl wins, which that's, ultimately what the game is all about. So, you can't say that he's the greatest of all time. But he does have also an extensive coaching tree. You look at, his effect on the league. We're at a point now where it's like, you can't tell the story of the NFL without, talking about the story of Andy Reid, right? Because of all the effects that he's had, not only in his team, but his coaching tree. So, he's I would say that it's fitting that he's, tied for 5th now. I would put him, top 5 all time. Just because not only did he have success sustained, but he had it with multiple teams. And I think that that's the hardest thing, right? Like there's never been a coach that's won a Super Bowl, went to another team and won a Super Bowl, right? And so to have that kind of sustained success in different franchises, I think shows just how good he is. I know that we've talked about maybe his adjustments to what the league is doing to attack his offense this year, and they've been struggling. But I think that one of the things that makes him great can also be a drawback, in that he doesn't really panic, right? And he doesn't I think change his stride just based on a game or two, right? He doesn't take players out because of a couple of bad plays, and so I think he's patient. And I'm beyond thrilled that he's our coach, because we had it's almost like a fever dream thinking about back when we had Romeo Crennel and we went 2-14 and we had, Scott Pioli and Todd Haley and just, starting Tyler Thigpen and Damon Heward. We're really living in pretty blessed times as Chiefs fans right now. And it's due mostly to what Big Red has done. So
definitely a Hall of Fame coach. Some of the things about him are endlessly frustrating to me. His clock management and his game management, his decisions. He just goes bonehead on things. I would like, personally, I think I would take a little bit more of a disciplinarian approach to things. I understand if you got guys dropping passes or fumbles, you want to get their confidence back and build them up but at the same time, this season, right, with the penalties and the drop passes, and it's just not getting better. And so there's some things about his coaching style that maybe I think aren't as good as a guy like a Belichick or some of these other guys here at the top of the list. I think maybe he'd be better served to look at some of those guys, what they do. But I'm definitely not complaining about him being the coach. He is definitely one of the best of all time. The wins and, like you said, the sustained success over decades now at this point with two different franchises obviously shows that he knows what he's doing. He's a leader of men. You hear players that have played for him constantly say that he's a leader and and guys want to play for him and they want, he's a player's coach. So they always speak glowingly of him. You see, I think we've gotten some big name free agents that maybe it was down to us and a couple other teams in the past, and they said the big part of the reason they wanted to come to Kansas City was Andy Reid. I remember when we got Andy Reid that first season we had there. We were coming out of the dark ages of the Chiefs kingdom and Chiefs fandom.
Yeah.
And you all kind of spoke to that a little bit, and I'm not going to go back and bring up Todd Haley and Romeo Crennel and those guys' names, but they
children watch the show,
Yeah, he came here, and I remember we were watching, and I'm trying to think of what season that would have been, but I was visiting. That's when Nick, you were living out in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of other family had come out there, and we were up at Estes Park.
Yep.
And we were watching the game together. It was the first game of the season with him as head coach, and we played the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we won. And just the team just looked completely different.
Unbelievable.
From what we had seen the previous 3 or 4, 5 or 6 seasons, where they really struggled transitioning from those Dick Vermeil era teams, those teams with him and Trent Green, Priest Holmes, and they brought in Herm Edwards, and then that kind of fell off slowly, then not so slowly fell off even more with some of the people and the head coaches and the staffs and the players that we had after that. But and it's been nothing but good results since then.
Right.
He brought Alex Smith to the team, a leader, in my opinion, one of the 3 or 4 greatest quarterbacks of the franchise's history. It's unfortunate that he never was able to get us to the Super Bowl or get a ring. But when I think of Andy Reid, that's kind of what I'll always think about is him and Alex Smith came here, changed the culture, got the ship headed back in the right direction. And for that alone, we should definitely be grateful and appreciative for what Andy Reid's done. So congratulations to him. 100 wins. That's 10 win seasons. I don't know if Big Red's got 10 more years in him. Maybe you could
17 games now.
Maybe 17 games. Maybe you could clip that down to 5 or 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
you could get
70% of that.
14, 15 win seasons in there. So pretty cool. Another kind of Chiefs history moment. Travis Kelsey becomes the third most scrimmage yards in franchise history. It really
TMFK.
It really feels like yesterday
beast.
that the Chiefs drafted him, and I was super pumped because I thought he was a really badass player in college, and like his yards per catch and some of his numbers were just off the charts, crazy good. Some teams passed on him because he had some off the field stuff and was viewed as an immature player, and people worried and teams worried about how that would affect him. And we saw that when he was in his first couple of 2-3 seasons here.
Right.
Had the incident where he threw the towel at the referee like he was throwing a flag on the ref.
Loved it. I loved it.
He had the
Roll
roll
the
the dice move in the playoff
Roll
game
the
against the
dice.
Steelers. Another classic early years Travis Kelsey moment. So just real quick, you guys Travis Kelsey, what do you think about where do you think he's at all time? It's kind of tough because the Chiefs got Tony Gonzalez, who a lot of people would consider maybe the greatest all-time tight end, Rob Gronkowski, some of these other guys. I've seen people say Antonio Gates, but I think that's just because he caught a lot of touchdown passes. I don't think he had the longevity or the skill set of some of those other guys.
Or the quarterback that was throwing the ball.
Yeah, that had something to do with it too. So where do you guys, I mean, you got any favorite Travis moments? Where would you put him all-time tight ends, Bo?
I mean, yeah, I think Travis Kelsey is one of those guys that, like, he didn't change the position. He just took great notes on what Tony Gonzalez did, what Rob Gronkowski, what all those guys you just mentioned. I feel like he also took notes on the water boy. It was just like, oh, it's that easy. You just got to be at the right spot at the right time, and then you just make everybody miss you, because that's what he does. And, like, I don't know how you can't teach that. What he does is just sheer athleticism. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have quite the numbers Tony Gonzalez has, but I mean, Tony Gonzalez played forever, 2 different teams. I think Travis Kelsey, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I still see easily another 2 or 3 years out of him to get his numbers there, and he's on pace to pass all of them. So it's hard to say greatest of all time right now. And I mean, you know, I hope he stays healthy and can play for the next couple of years. But yeah, that dude is amazing. I would definitely consider him top 3 on his way to being the top.
Nick?
I mean, he's my favorite tight end of all time. You know, used to be TG. TG may or may not have said some things about, you know, his time in Kansas City or his time in Atlanta that kind of soured me a little bit. Not to be that guy, but I did look. He's, you know, Gronk has I think almost 40 more touchdowns than Kelsey. Scott, I know you've talked about it before. You think that touchdowns can be somewhat of a fluky stat, but I don't think that when you're talking about 50-something to 90-something that you can totally disregard that. But, you know, he's had 4,000-yard seasons back to back to back to back. He's set the record, lost the record, and reset the record for yardage. The guy's just a beast. He's been consistent. A lot of personal growth as a human being that he's shown as he's matured on our team, going from somebody that was really great, but also would, you know, cost you 15 yards because of his frustration, to a leader on the field, a guy that is like the Rock, right? I mean, he's been Mahomes has been great, you know, and everybody can talk about the great player Mahomes has been, but Travis Kelsey has been the Rock. He's been the guy that's there on third down. He's been the guy that you know is going to be there. He was the dude that caught, you know, 3 touchdown passes when we were down to the Texans in the playoff game. He's the guy that, you know, caught that touchdown pass in the Super Bowl when the Chiefs kind of looked like they were dead. And, you know, like you could tell he's just like, let's turn it right back around. So as much as I've appreciated the things that he's done, you know, on the field, his attitude and his maturity has been great to watch, and, you know, as a fan as well. So, I mean, he's my favorite tight end of all time. So, I mean, I don't know. Everybody can argue who, you know, Gronk was greater and whatever. But, I mean, you know, the other thing that we didn't really talk about is, I mean, you know, and I don't even know if we want to bring up the I word, but, you know, just being out there on the field, right? You look at some of these other guys that, you know, maybe they're really good blockers, but, you know, they can't block when they're, you know, getting surgery, right? So Travis has been out there this year. I believe he has been hurting too, and he's stayed out there, and he's, you know, I just don't think you can say enough great things about that dude. And he's got style too, right? The man's got style. He can dance, you know, he dresses good.
He's the GOAT when it comes to dance moves for tight ends. There's no doubt about that. The guy has got swag for sure.
The king of gifts, that's for sure.
He's the king of gifts. He's the king of the dance moves. The touchdown things with Gronk, to me, that's just they threw the ball to him a lot when they were close to the end zone, and he's a big guy and he manipulated his body. But when you're talking about the combination of like size and speed and route running and sure-handedness. To me, Travis Kelsey, I'm with Bo. I don't know that I can say that he's the best ever yet but his story's not finished, right? The last chapter hasn't been entered in his career. By the time he's done, I don't think there's going to be much of an argument that he's the greatest of all time. He could go on a stretch where he starts ripping off a bunch of touchdowns, and he could close that gap on Gronk pretty quickly. When you look at, just like you said, the longevity, the back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, he's got I think like 2 or 3 back-to-back 100-catch seasons now, which is tough for wide receivers to do. His blocking, quite frankly, is grossly underrated. And people overlook it because he's so good at routes and he's so good at getting open and catching and is a receiving tight end, that I feel like people knock on that because they think he's not as good at it because he's out there catching and having 100-yard games. That's the other thing too. He crushes. He's got a ton of 100-yard games.
Yeah. Any fantasy owners that haven't know that, right, Scotty?
Right. Exactly. No, he's a fantasy goat. I mean, so
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's also top 10 like all-time receiving yards. Not all time. What was the stat? But I mean, he was in there with receivers.
He almost led the league in receiving yards last year as a tight end.
Right. Top 10 receiving yards this year. Excuse me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Top 10. I mean, think about some of the powerhouse receivers that are out there, and he is one of them, and he's a tight end.
Yeah. There's the argument of is Tony Gonzalez better? Tony Gonzalez is second all time in receptions for all positions, which to me, every time I think about that, it just blows my mind. It's Jerry Rice and then Tony Gonzalez, which is fucking crazy. But I think Tony benefited. Unfortunate for Tony, I don't know that he would brag about this. I mean, he would probably agree with me though. But how many years was he the only option on the offense? So they just threw the ball to him all the time.
Yeah,
he never played with a Tyreek Hill or a Sammy Watkins type of guy that drew attention at the wide receiver position like he did. Tony Gonzalez also played in teams where we had great running backs, great running. Travis Kelsey played with Jamal Charles. And he still is able to command the targets and get the yards and get the touchdowns. So, yeah, to me, it's like 1A, 1B right now, maybe with him and Gronk for greatest of all time. When it's all said and done, I think you're going to see Travis Kelsey number one pretty much in every major statistical measurement for the tight end position. And he might start getting up in there with all time like Tony G. I don't think he's ever going to get to second receptions in NFL history, but just a phenomenal player. He's matured a lot. He's a leader on the team. Nick, you talked about that touchdown he caught in the Super Bowl that really jump-started the comeback. He's a Super Bowl champion. Not enough good things to say about Travis Kelsey. So congratulations to him on a pretty remarkable. Pretty amazing.
Come on the show anytime you want.
Yeah, and Travis, you want to come on and talk about it? Just hit me up, man.
Pat McAfee has Aaron Rodgers on like once a week. Yeah. You could
love to do the Travis Kelsey Tuesday.
Yeah, we take once a season, Travis.
Yeah.
So hit us up at the Kingdom Cast on all social media platforms. You DM us, we'll get to you. I promise. Let's break down. Let's get into the game from Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. The Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers. It was an exciting game. If you would have told me the Chiefs were going to win a game 13-7 this year, I probably would have told you to get some help.
Especially if it was the Packers game at the beginning of the season, right?
Right. Yeah. Close game. Defense really was the story of the game. Won us the game. That's got to make those guys feel good. What are your we'll get into, we'll break down the game more closely here, but just real quick overall thoughts. What did you guys think watching the game? Nick?
mean, I'll be honest. Watching the game, I was pretty gosh darn frustrated. Right? I mean, like
Yeah.
just I don't know if this is just every fandom, but I feel like the Chiefs have always had like one thing or the other thing, you know? It's like going all the way back to the 90s where we had defense and no offense. And now it's like, now we're even switching it in the season where it's like we can score 35 points and we're going to give up 36, you know? Or um, we are gonna, only give up 6 points, but we can score 13, right? Or 7 points, but we score 13. Like, and that's a win. But it would be nice to see both sides of the ball like play consistently. So
Yeah.
Bo?
It felt like, have you seen that meme where the guy's sitting there poking something with a stick? He's like, come on, do something.
do
Like, that's the
something.
way it felt with
Yeah.
our offense in this game. You know what I mean? It was just like, come on, guys, you got it. You got all the star power. You got
Right.
you got everything you need. Just do something. And they just didn't do it. And that's the frustrating thing to me. I mean, they did it enough to get the win. And again, in the long run, that's all that's going to matter. But man, I agree with Nick. It was really frustrating to watch the lack of production on the offense.
Sure. Yeah, I went to the game and was sitting there, and it was getting close, probably the end of the third quarter. And I was frustrated, and I was aggravated, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, we've given up 0 points. We're winning at home. Like,
And I'm frustrated,
I'm
right?
not enjoying myself. Like, what?
Like 2 scores too, right?
So, it just the Chiefs' offense just set a bar so high the last couple of years. And
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes,
that's what it is.
the standard is, I mean, it's off the charts, right? So
It really is.
when they come out and struggle, you saw that they didn't have any turnovers, which was an encouraging sign.
We tried to
I
turn it over.
And we've talked on this show for how many weeks now about if the Chiefs could just limit the turnovers, they would be scoring 40 points a game. And they don't turn the ball over, and they have their lowest scoring output of the season. Just
no, 10 more points than against the.
No, that's right. I'm sorry, second lowest. Yeah, I was thinking of the win. So yeah, that's
Why you got to bring up old shit, Bo?
right. But so
that guy.
Right. They just the more you think you know, the more you learn you don't know, and it's just football. There's a lot of randomness to it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot made of, and I want to get your guys' takes on this and see what you think, but there's been a lot made about the Packers being without Aaron Rodgers, and the Chiefs got lucky, and they would have lost that game by 30 points if Aaron Rodgers played. I don't remember anybody saying that, and maybe I don't follow the Packers, so maybe they did say it about when they beat us when we had Matt Moore. That was, when we had Patrick Mahomes had the kneecap issue against the Broncos. He missed a few games, and we played them here at Arrowhead with Matt Moore and almost won that game. I don't remember a bunch of people sitting there saying, oh, well, Green Bay's not for real because they beat, the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes, and you just discount that win. I don't – to sit there to me and say that the Chiefs would have only scored 13 points if Aaron Rodgers played. You can't just take – that's like taking a math equation, just changing one number and expecting like the outcome to be, changed. That's not the way it works. There's so much that goes into game planning, script, intensity level, focus. I don't think the Chiefs would have come out and scored 13 points if Aaron Rodgers was out there lighting up the Chiefs defense, scoring touchdowns. I feel you saw some of the Chiefs' game plan was to let the defense kind of have their way with Green Bay's offense. And the other thing was A.J. Dillon and help me out, the other running back's name for the Packers, Aaron Jones. Those guys, they had a few stretches there for parts of drives where they had some good runs, but for the most part, they shut those guys down.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit easier to do when you don't have the threat of Aaron Rodgers. But I also didn't see a bunch of wide open receivers running all over the place that Jordan Love was missing. And the pass rush was getting to Jordan Love.
Yeah.
The pass rush would have been on Aaron Rodgers, who is somewhat mobile and can move around and escape, but he's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Lamar Jackson. So he's not necessarily a statue, but he's also, not one of these Houdini guys that can get out of the pocket and leave you scratching your head. So to me, you play the opponent that's in front of you. The Chiefs, I know there was the element of surprise. I talked about last week. It was a lose-lose situation, and you're kind of seeing that it come to be true here. That if they won, it was going to be because they didn't have to play Aaron Rodgers, and if they would have lost, oh my God, look, this team's completely fallen apart. So I thought it was a good win. It's encouraging, the pass rush, some of the things we saw in there. Bo, what do you think? Chiefs win, lose this game if they're playing against Aaron Rodgers? Do you think it goes similarly? Do you think it goes completely different? What are your thoughts about playing the Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers?
I have similar thoughts that you have, man. Like, I didn't hear anybody saying these talking points when, we barely lost. Like, oh, had we had Patrick Mahomes, we would have dominated it. The thing about this whole Aaron Rodgers thing is, like, he was the only one that was out. Other than that, it was the same Packers team. And I know your quarterback is your captain, the guy at the helm, the one that touches the ball the most, but not on defense. We still had to play the same defense, and we still, scored enough, outscored more than they scored. The running game, though, you brought up, I feel like that was where Green Bay lost the game. I feel like they could have ran it all over us and just kind of dominated the game that way. Instead, they tried to let Jordan Love do stuff that he's just not capable of doing. And, like, I'm pretty sure every NFL fan has known that since the get-go, since they drafted him, and that video came out of him missing the targets and Aaron Rodgers coming in and just lacing those balls right in the net. It's just a different caliber. As far as your point is, like, he was missing wide open receivers. I saw a ton of the time where he was missing a lot of the man-to-man wide open in the middle. And I was thinking the entire time you were talking about it, I don't think we play the game the same way we played it against Jordan Love. So I think it'd be a different game altogether if Aaron Rodgers was in. I don't know that you send 6-7 guys against Aaron Rodgers and leave everybody on single coverage. I mean, Devontae Adams is that good. Lazard is that good. They would have been open. MVS was there. It's just hard to say, man. Like, I think our offense would have maybe, put some stuff more together had Aaron Rodgers been out there scoring touchdowns. It would have been a different amount of pressure. But the good thing about this game is I think it allowed our offense to slow down, try some things out. I know we had a bunch of 3-and-outs, but, I mean, we were trying some things out, getting some kinks worked out that were much needed. You know what I mean? I saw some great play calling there, even though we were not converting every third down. And then you saw right at the end, like, our team was stoked on, converting a third and long. And that was, it was the game sealer, but I mean, like, it's just those little things that you can build on that, like, you just take it to next week. And, hopefully that's like the spark that starts the fire that is our offense. Cause once we start going, we're pretty much unstoppable. So that's kind of like my takeaway. What do you think, Nick? What's your takeaway from it?
I mean, I'm pretty stoked that the defense only gave up 7 points. We were just talking on the last show about, was it Mike White coming in as a backup quarterback for the Jets, lighting it up, and they beat the Bengals, right? Look, those people get paid to say shit that's inflammatory, and that maybe doesn't even make sense. None of them were sitting there picking the Jaguars to beat Buffalo. None of them were sitting there thinking that it was going to be 5 minutes left in the Cowboys game and the Broncos were going to be winning on the road 30-0. Like, nobody wanted to sit there and say that other than Scott, that the Saints were going to beat the Buccaneers, right? Like, but all those things happened. And look, I mean, I understand why they say it, right? The Chiefs offense sputtered, but credit to the Packers defense. The Packers defense is not a terrible unit, right? They're a good team. They're a 7-win team. They had won 7 in a row since their very first game. So I think that, when you look at it through that lens, and then if you look at, I mean, the Chiefs have lost, but they've lost to all good teams, right? Who have they lost to that sucks?
Nobody.
Yeah. They've beaten every team that they definitely should beat. They've beaten this year. They didn't have a Raiders whoopsie and lose to the Giants, right? I mean, they weren't the Cowboys, like, getting crowned halfway through the season, getting Dak back, and then, sputtering and being down 30 points at home. So I just think that, like, the media, I mean, their opinion is every bit as valid as ours, right? That's what that proves. And so what I would say is that, like, very encouraged by what I saw from Patrick on the very last real play of the game, right? And like I don't know if you guys saw it, but man, it sure looked like he shrugged 3 games worth of bullshit off of his back there with that throw. And like, I even had a friend of mine from work that wasn't watching the game, and they flipped it on, and like, they're like, "What, did they score a touchdown?" And they're like, "No, he just completed a pass." And they were kind of laughing about it, but it's like, that's how much that meant to him in that moment. So I'm just hoping it's a spark, right? But it's just a long season, and you never know what's going to happen week to week. All these people are professionals; they all get paid to play, and so anytime, like, you never apologize for a win because of that. So
Sure. Yeah, and no team goes on as championship, has a magical season, and goes on and gets the 1 seed and go without some ball bouncing their way and some good breaks. And that,
sure.
that's part of it is, Buccaneers aren't apologizing for their Super Bowl win against us because we were playing with our 5th string offensive line, right?
Right.
No,
Right.
you're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, we're going to give them the win," because if they would have, been at full strength, they would have beat us. That's nonsense to me. So, it was an exciting game. I give, to me, Patrick Mahomes, though there were some things in this game that Patrick is getting criticized for, the offense only scoring 13 points, and they didn't have any turnovers, but drops, penalties, killing drives. So they had 3 drives where Patrick hit a guy that would have been a first down if they would have caught the ball.
In the hands.
In the hands. There's 3 drives dead, not Patrick's fault. Then there was at least 2 drives where we had 3rd and 1, and then on one of them on 4th and 1, and we went for it. The second one, we got a penalty.
Yeah.
And ended up, I think that's where we kicked the field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 1 at the goal line there, where we can't open a hole and get 1 yard. The running game is not doing Patrick any help. So we didn't have turnovers, but we also saw some of these things still. Drops, lack of focus. Josh Gordon dropped another pass. Hardman dropped a pass on 3rd down. Kelsey had a couple of drops. Kelsey, we just got done talking about how he's one of the greatest of all time. He's earned the right to drop a few passes here and there.
Right. I wouldn't hang the game on Kelsey's hands.
But some of these other guys and these drops, and luckily the drops, the guys were open or it didn't bounce to a defender like it has been all season.
Right.
So to me, this whole idea, man, we talk about it every week, and maybe people are getting tired of me being a Patrick Mahomes apologist or sticking up for the guy and placing the blame everywhere else. But I still don't think he's playing poorly this year. I really don't. I feel, to me, when I watch the games, he's the same Patrick that he's always been. It's just a few bad breaks, lack of focus, drops, some turnovers are piling up that they're kind of out of his control. And it's hurting the team, and it's hurting the offense. And he's being a man and standing up there and taking the arrows as the leader of the offense and leader of the team, really, on the field. Andy Reid's the head coach of the team, obviously, and the alpha dog there in that locker room. But, yeah, there was some concerning stuff. It was a win's a win. The pass rush looked good. So, encouraging. You win 13-7. You're going to be happy about it. They're sitting there now 5-4, tied with every other team in the division at 5 wins somehow now. So
yeah, hey,
that's pretty crazy.
Great sign.
What do you guys? what are your thoughts on the offensive struggles the last couple of weeks? They looked bad against Tennessee, then had some struggles in there. Another thing I wanted to bring up real quick is our running game. Defenses are dropping back, and linebackers are dropping back, going backwards, backpedaling at the snap. They're leaving too high safeties. They're not playing any secondary guys in the box. Our longest run by a running back this year is 17 yards. To me, that is just not good enough. That's unacceptable for the way defenses are playing us. Clyde got hurt. He was looked like maybe he was figuring a couple things out, had a couple 100-yard games, but he wasn't busting big runs. Williams, Gore, these guys, McKinnon, even when there is a hole, you don't see them make a guy miss at the second level and bust off a 30, 35-yard run, which would tremendously help the way teams defend us.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the offense? What do we need? Am I just being a Patrick Mahomes apologist? Am I missing it? Do I have my red and gold, my Patrick Mahomes glasses on, and I'm turning a blind eye to some things he's doing wrong? What do you think, Nick?
No, man, I think. Sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
No, you go, Bo. It's Canadian Sandy.
I think you're nipping right on it, man. And we were talking about it earlier, the O-line, right? It's a completely retooled O-line from last year. It's all of those positions require a great deal of trust and communication with the guys next to you. And I still think that our O-line's developing it. I'm with you. I don't think Mahomes is playing bad at all. I'm tired of this thing like, oh, he's forcing stuff. Like, no, man, when you're hitting your guys in the hands and the face, you're doing your job. They're not doing their job. You're not forcing anything. You're doing your job.
He can force things, right? I mean, you just have to take the easy check down for now. And all we heard about was people bitch about Alex Smith being a game manager and check down Charlie.
Yeah. So like when you were talking about, I wanted to jump in and play this right away, but I mean, I have a kind of like a little highlight reel of all of his touchdowns minus this last game. And like, I don't see a touchdown in here where he's struggling. I don't see, there's maybe two where he's forcing it. That means he's just throwing it harder than average, but he's not putting it in a window where there's three guys going for it. You know what I mean? Like, so like, just check this out. And Nick, then you can go right after. Sorry to just throw this in there, but like, again, I don't see where he's struggling at all.
No, I'm leaving.
I can't see. They're good when they run those plays.
Second and goal. Mahomes backpedaling. Bring Chase. Able to elude. And now we'll run for it. He finds it. Touchdown, Kansas City. Concussion protocol for the rest of that game.
Right here is going to be the spot. Somebody over this middle of the ball right here.
It's Kelsey. Kelsey reaches for the touchdown. Throws it. That's another one. Most in 50 games, and he's only at 47 games. Passing yards. He's being chased as he heaves it. Down there, and the man is there. It's Hill, able to get away from John Johnson, who was in the locker room to start the quarter. And he crosses the goal line for a one-play strike from 75 yards.
Robinson and Marcus Kemp, the wideouts, providing the blocking for him. Mahomes feels that pocket deep downfield into the end zone, juggled and caught. Mahomes has thrown for 195, second and 4. Over the middle, open here, Pringle. Byron Pringle outraces everybody. Touchdown.
Mahomes over the top, and it's pulled down for the touchdown. Jody Fortson plays this quarter for the Chargers. Here's the 22nd one for the Chiefs. To Edwards-Helaire to the end zone. Kansas City takes the lead. Hardman finds an opening. Finds
inside the one. Yeah, I'm surprised they're not set up in a power set here. I'd let this offensive line eat right now if I were them.
Mahomes roll. Underhanded toss for the touchdown. Edwards-Helaire. Patrick Mahomes can come at you from every which angle. Kansas City looking to cash in. Shotgun. Mahomes fires. Touchdown. Tyreek Hill.
They'll go back to the pass here.
Shotgun, shovel, off the bobble and catch, touchdown. Jody Fortson. Back-to-back. Shifts out of the backfield, 10 plays on the drive, 8 of them runs. Mahomes slings it, touchdown. A laser beam to Tyreek Hill.
Formation, one of the receivers didn't think well enough and covered up a lineman.
Mahomes off his back foot, sails it deep and caught by himself, Tyreek Hill.
Okay, now it's more conventional. Finally, Mahomes fires, caught. Pringle, touchdown, Kansas City. Just inside the dude. It winds up in the hands of Kelsey for the touchdown.
Take it. Mahomes, a rope to Tyreek Hill. Hardman in motion. Mahomes tosses it up. Touchdown, Robinson.
3rd and goal from the 6. Mahomes waiting for something to open up. Finds some space and throwing on the run. It's caught. Touchdown, Tyreek Hill. And the Chiefs score first.
So 2 plays, maybe 2 plays there where he forces something. But, man, I didn't see anybody struggling on any of those.
Well, so, like, just real quick, I know Nick's to talk about it, but to me, there was like a few plays in there. The touchdown to Demarcus Robinson against the Ravens, the one to Tyreek Hill against the Washington football team, that last one there to Tyreek against the Giants. Guys are covered, and he zips the ball in there. And when they make the catch, no one talks about, oh, well, that was a danger. He forced the play.
Yeah, forced it right in there.
Great is he can make those tough. He has the accuracy and has the arm to rip the ball in there. And so that's what separates him from the average, the game managers, the guys that take the easy pass. If it's not open, throw it away on 3rd and goal and kick the field goal. That's what separates him. Nick?
Sorry, Nick.
No, that's okay. I hate you guys anyway. No, look, it's a factor of a lot of things, right? One is in the past couple of games, I think they've been saying it a lot longer than he's actually been in a slump. He has been in a little bit of a slump. Like, that miss to Tyreek Hill in this last game, where Hill was open and it was a long, deep ball. Like he just never misses that pass, right? So I think that, the last few games, he hasn't been as sharp as we're used to him being. Now, what's the reason for that? I mean, as Doug commented here, right? I think that this could be part of it where, coaches and media, or maybe, he's starting to second guess himself out there, right? And anytime like you're not in like that flow state of doing things, it can screw you up, right? I mean, it's like if you're losing to someone at golf and they're really good, you should sit there and you'd be like, so when you swing, do you shift your weight to your back foot and then twist your wrists before you pull your arm back? And then do you come down with your elbows first, or do you come down with your wrists first? And you like get them thinking about their golf swing, and all of a sudden they can't hit the ball, right? And I think that that's maybe some of it. But it's a team sport, and I'm going to make a weird analogy here, but try to go with me. Like when the armed forces came out and publicly said, like, we do not torture people anymore, that wasn't a bad thing because we weren't torturing people. It was a bad thing because we let everybody know that that's off the table. Now, when you're interrogating people, they know that, like, it's never going to happen, right? And what Scott's bringing up with the run game and saying that, like, we can't run the ball 1 yard when we need to. Sorry, my daughter's messing with me over here. When he was saying we can't run the ball when we need to, we got to have some gimmick play where we have Travis Kelsey line up behind center and all that. Once they know that's off the table, like that, like gives the defenses a tremendous advantage because, like when you're playing a team that, can just smash you in the mouth and get a couple of yards at the goal line or whatever, like you have to play way differently. And the Chiefs have gotten away with that for a long time. but like I think it's starting to have an impact. 17 yards is the longest run from a back, as Scott said. That's crap. I mean, you should accidentally have somebody in the backfield get 20 yards, right? I mean, that's like, if we finish with that being our longest run, that's like tantamount to when we didn't have a wide receiver catch a touchdown all year, right? And
Yeah.
like I saw a chart that showed, like our backs and their expected yardage versus their actual yardage. CEH was like right on line. I think I sent it to you guys. Darrell Williams way below the line. They're not getting extra yards when they have the opportunity to. We've seen some runs here where, you see Darrell Williams fall down. I think I even saw it with Gore where, it looked like he was going to break a huge run this week early in the game. They didn't really go back to him much, which was disappointing, but he kind of, got hit and fell down. And so I think that is having a huge impact on the offense just because that's, you don't want to be one-dimensional, right? That's what they say about teams when you get behind 2-3 scores. Why it's really difficult is because like you don't have to account for as much. And with the Chiefs, I don't think they have to account for that much because they know they're not going to run the ball. So
definitely, I'll just come out and say it. Our running backs suck.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's a huge part of it, right?
I don't think there's much
good.
argument there.
I watch other teams back up second string running backs rip off 25, 30-yard runs all the time.
Patrick Mahomes does it all the time. He's got a running back.
Yeah. And you see the Chiefs, they have to do these jet sweeps, and they have to, like Nick said, do these gadget trickery plays at the goal line because they can't – they get stoned at the goal line. They can't get 1 yard. I mean, we had 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and ended up turning over on down because we couldn't get 1 yard. We couldn't get 3 feet. A yard is like this long, Like,
you're 6 feet tall, and you fall over, right?
And
that's 2 yards.
It's just, to me, there's so many different factors that are going into the offense struggling and making it look like Patrick is struggling. And now it's gotten into his head, like Doug said. Now it's getting into his head. Did he take off? I was at the game live. Did he take off and run at all?
Not once.
I mean, that's been a big part of his game in the last year or two. How many times have you seen him pick up 14 yards on a 3rd and 12?
Yeah. It's also such a crushing part of any offense, dude. When your quarterback is that mobile and can just take off at any second and get 10+ yards, like
you want him to be Alex Smith and take the checkdowns. You want him to be Peyton Manning and stand there like a statue in the pocket. That's not who he is. That's not what makes him great.
I don't know if you guys watched any of the interviews after the game and stuff, but like Patrick Mahomes talking about like all his technique and trying to stay in the pocket and all this stuff. I think Doug's completely right. I think coaches are in his head trying to get him back to the basics. You know what I mean? Because I mean, what made him special was, being able to do those off-kilter plays, those off-kilter throws, make it happen. And now that's not happening. They're like, what else can we try to fix? And they're trying to, fix something that isn't broken, essentially. I don't think it's Patrick Mahomes. I think, like we said earlier, like we got to look at more like the O-line. Give them a couple more seconds to think about it. Like 1 or 2 more seconds would be a game changer for Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, the running game is just atrocious. Like if we had any semblance of like a running threat, defenses would have to game plan different for us. But every single play you see cover 2, deep safeties, right? And then like double team 87 and 10, you're good man-to-man with anybody else. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and you still can't rip off big runs. They're almost conceding that we're going to let you run the ball, and we can't run the ball.
Which is I brought this up before. Like you've talked about it. You don't like dink and dunk football. Why? Because like right now everybody's giving it to us. So like why can't we just take it until they stop giving it to us?
Well, I think you see the problem with the dink and dunk and the 15-play drives because it gives you more of a chance to have a turnover, a penalty that puts you in 2nd and 3rd and long, and it's so incredibly difficult to sustain 14, 15, 16-play drives.
I would agree with you there, but like we were just talking about, they're giving us 20, 30 yards. It's not 7-yard dink and dunk plays. It's 12, 13 yards. So you're talking about 9-play drives, right? Like if you get 12 yards a drive or 12 yards a play, like why can't the Chiefs just take those 12-yard plays?
Because they run on they're running on first down. The back gets 3 yards. 2nd and 7.
Yes.
They're giving up 10 yards, and then you throw the ball, and some dipshit doesn't catch it, or it's just a bad play. Now you're at 3rd and long. That's why. That's why it's bad. Because when you can't run for 5 yards a carry consistently, and you never get more than a few yards, like you just statistically, like teams can, if you get to 3rd down, what's a really good stat on 3rd down for a season? It's less than 50%, right? So like you're just it's putting the odds against you when you have these 3rd downs over and over and over again, because eventually you're going to roll snake eyes, right? And then one of Scott's other points is that we also haven't been consistent with not turning the football over, right? So if you're going to turn the football over once every 20 plays, if you have a 6-yard drive versus a 20-play drive, or a 6-play drive versus a 20-play drive, like you're going to lose a lot more drives to turnovers. So I think that's what's been hurting them. But the thing is, like, at least the turnover thing it's correctable, right? Like I know that we tried to Mecole Hardman fumbled, and Patrick tried to throw a pick even though it didn't get caught, but at least that's correctable. But I think that's what Scott is saying, is that it's a lower percentage game overall for scoring.
I understand that, but like it's not like your typical dink and dunk where, like I was saying, you get 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah.
Like these defenses are giving us 10, 12, 15, 17 yards at a time at will. And like that's what I don't understand. Like take those all day until they do something different, and then you go back to being your old Chiefs. It doesn't seem like rocket science to me.
Yeah, I don't know that they're giving us that big of a cushion. That might be exaggerating what defenses are doing a little bit.
Probably.
But at the same time, fucking rip off a 25-yard run, then rip off a 20-yard run. That's like getting a 50-yard play. Get a first down on first down.
Do something.
It will tighten that defense up.
Run, rip off a 25-yard run, get big chunk plays, and they're not going to be able to drop back and play all these guys deep. And we don't have running backs that are fast or elusive that can do it. And it's insane to me, because you look at teams, if you play fantasy football, some of these guys. I mean, the Vikings, they got that Alexander Madison, 2nd-string running back. Dude's light years better than anybody we have on our team.
Light years. Cleveland Browns 3rd-string Dearness Johnson's light years better than anybody
against the Broncos, who are a good defense, a good running defense. How we came into this season with Clyde and Darrell and Jarrett tired legs McKinnon, and I just don't understand. Like it seems like they've neglected that position, and it's hurting us. And all these things we're talking about are hurting the offense. And Patrick Mahomes has taken the blame, and I don't think that justifiably so. I don't think anybody's figured him out. I mean, the league has adjusted to him, and he's regressing. There's just a lot of things wrong with this team that are hurting the offense, and he's taking the blame and pressing a little bit with the defense and how bad the defense has been earlier in the year. He might have missed that throw to Tyreek Hill, but he's missed long passes in the past. I mean, when you only have 1 a game or 2 a game because of the way the defense is, it highlights it and it emphasizes it more when you do miss it, because you don't hit one 3 plays later. So we should probably move on and talk about something else. Now we're an hour in. We haven't even talked about the Raiders game. So let's get into that.
Real quick. Going back to the game. Our special teams tore it up. Got to give a quick shout out to all the special teams guys.
Yeah, they did.
Tommy Townsend dropped 5 punts inside the 20-yard line. Harrison Bucker, smashing field goals. Just quick shout out to how well they did. They had a blocked field goal, right?
Blocked field goal.
Real quick, explain, because I obviously don't know the rule. Why wasn't that a touchdown that hit the punt that hit the guy in the foot that we picked up and ran into the end zone?
Right, because of the way it was ruled on the field, right? And like that's what I was texting you guys. Like that's just the refs being retarded.
If they called it right to begin with, it would have been a touchdown. But since they ruled the play dead, they won't advance the ball into the end zone.
And it was a point of emphasis 2 years ago to rule in favor of like the score or the reviewable play. Right. And so they should have called it a touchdown or at least a turnover because all turnovers are reviewed. And so like, oh man, the fact that
to compound it, the announcers, it was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. One of them said, "Oh, well, yeah, no, you can't advance a muffed punt." And I'm like, that's not a fucking rule.
That's exactly how you advance.
If you muffed the punt, like,
well, that's not even a muffed punt. It hit the guy, and like he wasn't even trying to catch the ball. It wasn't even like he muffed it. Like
he hit him in the toe.
Same difference, though, right? Like, I mean, didn't we like have a touchdown scored against us against the Texans because Tyreek Hill didn't field the punt cleanly? Right. Like. It's the same rule. So like they compounded the confusion there saying that you can't advance a muffed punt, which is not the case.
That's not even a thing.
No.
But they shall just tell you where the point of refereeing at is in the NFL. The ref came in and started saying touchback. I don't know if you guys saw that. He was saying touchback, which in no way, shape, or form was any of those actions of play a touchback. If anything, it should have been a down ball or touchdown. Like, he would have been better off calling a safety. Like, touchback blew my mind. And you're just like, oh, yeah, you're a ref. That makes sense. Like,
it bounced into, like, it hit in the end zone and came out, and the guy picked it up and ran. Yeah, no. Under no set of circumstances should that have been even an option to call. And I did see that. That was down on the end of the field, kind of my seats. I sit down there about the 10 to 15-yard line on that end of the field. And just unbelievable.
Unreal. And then, like, you sent that text earlier of refs intentionally jumping in the way of Bears players. Like, I am so frustrated with refs right now.
Yeah, referee leans into the guy so that he runs into him, then he throws a flag on him. Like, it's unreal. But we'll move on to the Raiders game here.
Fair enough. We could do a whole podcast on terrible reffing.
Right.
We should do a Wednesday show just about the refs. Called The Refs Suck, and here's why.
When we do the banners, when we do the Chiefs versus the Raiders and the Broncos, we shouldn't be capitalizing the Raiders or the Broncos or the Chargers. Don't give them that respect. They don't deserve it. The Sunday Night Football, the game's in Las Vegas. At the Death Star, or whatever they call that ugly ass stadium they got out there. To me, that
kind of looks like a toilet bowl, doesn't
it? Yeah, there you go. The Chiefs. There you go. That's better. Way to go, Bo. First place, not technically on the line, but
on the line.
But the Raiders are 5-3. The Chiefs are 5-4. Raiders obviously have had their bye week. Chargers are at 5-3. So they could win their game, and if the Chiefs win there, they would still be in second place because they would have the head-to-head tiebreaker, but pretty close to a matchup for first place. And really, if the Chiefs want to win the division, they need to win this game against the Raiders. So I'm not going to call it a must-win, but pretty close to the next closest thing to a must-win. The Raiders are let's see here. The Raiders won a game against the Ravens where they tried to lose it 2 or 3 times at the end of the game in an overtime week 1 at home. They struggled, needed overtime to beat the Dolphins, who are a terrible team. They've lost to the Bears, who are not a good team. They lost to the New York Giants this week, which the Chiefs struggled to beat the Giants. They needed a stop there at the end to avoid losing to the Giants at home themselves. But they got the win. The Raiders didn't. The Raiders, the John Gruden controversy, he's out. Then the unfortunate, just the awful incident there where they've lost Henry Ruggs, who was their best wide receiver, arguably a first-round draft pick. Then here they've lost another first-round pick from a couple of years ago. I think he was a secondary cornerback player. I'm trying to think of that guy's name now. It escapes me. Had the incident on Twitter. He was threatening someone's life and flashing a bunch of guns, which to me, I thought that got you a
the thunder
raise.
there, Scotty.
What's that?
You're stealing the thunder there. But go ahead.
I thought that got you a contract extension and a raise when you played with the Raiders, threatening someone's life and flashing guns on social media.
So. I thought that's why they moved to Vegas.
Right. That's a little out of character for them to cut someone from the team for that kind of behavior. How do you see this game coming up, Sunday Night Football against the Raiders in Las Vegas, Bo?
Like this past week taught me I knew nothing about football. Everything I thought I knew, I didn't know. Teams just getting upset. I think I went like 1-6 in all the picks. Like, oh man, like I don't know what I'm talking about. But what I do know is that the Raiders fucking suck, and I will stick to that until I die. But it seems like they're on a downward trend, man. And as you know, as many critics as we have, we're on an upward trend. I love it when that kind of collides with any AFC West divisional opponent. The Raiders are just in disarray right now. I have a hard time seeing them winning any more games. They're just, like you said, no coach. They're out some star players. They got family members of players talking shit online, causing distractions. I mean, they're like I said, just in disarray. So I could see us coming in and sneaking off a win against them easily. I know I've said that against most opponents, and we don't do things too easily these days, but kind of coming off of last week, I think, like I said, we ironed out some kinks. I think, watching Patrick Mahomes get that fired up, and that was the last play, carry that into this week. I hope it carries over. I'm still hopeful for that 50 burger. I don't see it against the Raiders, but what a great team to see it come out against if it does come out. I don't see that happening though. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think we're gonna come out strong. I think this is gonna be one of the first games we're able to finally put offense and defense together, play complementary football. If we can again keep the turnovers down to nothing like we did, or minimally, that should go a long way in helping us beat the Raiders. I hope our team can finally get it clicking and our offense get some touchdowns. I would love to see us score by 2 or more, or win by 2 or more. Oh man, I'm kind of feel like I'm putting my foot in my mouth saying that, or jinxing us saying that, but I think we could do it. What do you think?
I think we're going to kick their ass.
Yeah, I would say the Raiders are a dumpster fire, but I don't want to disrespect dumpster fires like that. So they're a mess, and they're trending downward. They've won 5 games somehow this year against bad competition. You look at them; they could easily be at 2 or 3 wins. So Chiefs need to go in there and take care of business. They need Andy Reid has owned the division since he's came here. That's something that I feel like gets glossed over. People are kind of forgetting. We lost the home game to the Chargers this year. We lost the home game to the Raiders. But that's something for the most part. I mean, the Chiefs are sweeping the division or losing one game. Their record against the division last 3 or 4 years, especially, is just all time great. When
historically,
you see those numbers. So Chiefs have won a couple. It looks like like you said, maybe the defense is trending upwards. The offense struggled a little bit the last couple of games, but that's the exception to the rule, right? That's the outlier the last 2 weeks, not the first 7 weeks where they were the number 1 scoring offense per drive in the NFL. And some of that too, the Green Bay defense is fairly good. They haven't given up a 300-yard passer all season.
Right.
So maybe the clunker against them isn't as concerning as it should be. Maybe not as indicative of the offense struggling as it is. Just, hey, sometimes the other team, they got pros too, and you run up against a good defense. So, yeah, Chiefs need to go in. I expect them to win. I think they go in. They take control of the game. Nick?
Well, I got a little graphic here that we put together that kind of outlines some of the things here to consider. So our keys to the kingdom here, if you look like offense points scored per game for both teams, Raiders, I mean, a 1/10 of a point. I'm saying that's a push, right? Season long, the defense, Chiefs defense is averaging more points per game than the Raiders. But if you were to look at that over the last couple of games, I think that would probably be in the Chiefs' favor. And then we get into like the real stuff here.
And also the Raiders are playing a second or third place schedule this year. Their level of competition is not
right.
The Chiefs have played some pretty potent offenses. Tennessee, the Ravens, the Browns. Yeah, their level of competition on offense, who they face, and the quarterbacks they've played, has definitely been stronger.
But then you get into the meat and potatoes here. So keys of the kingdom. Has Patrick Mahomes? The Chiefs is a yes. The Raiders is a no. That's an advantage to the Chiefs, right?
Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes. Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes.
Has recently released a player for threatening to kill another human being. The Chiefs is a no. The Raiders, that's a yes. So I'm going to give that advantage to the Chiefs. Has a real head coach instead of an interim head coach. The Chiefs is a yes. The Raiders is a no. So I'm going to give advantage to the Chiefs. And then the ultimate factor here. Has the other team's flag buried in their stadium's foundation? That's a no for the Chiefs and a yes for the Raiders. So the advantage goes to the Chiefs. So
advantage kingdom.
So if you want to ask what I think about the game, I think that sums it up pretty perfectly. The Raiders, I hate the Raiders, and we're going to kick their ass. So.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell by my name on the screen there, I can't stand the Raiders. I hate them more than any team in the NFL. They are trash. They're dirty. We got a comment here from Race Car. I think that's Ashley. That's hilarious.
What's up?
Thank you, Ashley.
Drive safe. Hope you remember that.
Glad you like the graphic. You know, we had a crack team spend all week putting that together. Or 20 minutes before the show.
High quality production team.
Yeah, and Raiders gonna Raider. Marty would always say it. Just hang around and wait for the Raiders to beat themselves because they're going to. They are just even when it looks like maybe this is the year where they figure it out.
They
They
don't.
have a player cut because of a fatal DUI, and then they have to cut another first-round pick, and then their coach gets canceled, and it falls apart. And like I said, they've lost to the Bears, they lost to the Giants. They needed overtime to beat the Dolphins. Chiefs are the better team. They have the better roster. They have the better coach. They have the better quarterback. They're just better off. I'm really encouraged what I saw about this last game with the defensive line, the way they were able to put pressure. That's a good offensive line in Green Bay.
They actually got some penetration.
Yeah, Chris Jones looks like maybe that
49% was pressured on 49% of his dropbacks, which is really good.
And we all know Derek Carr folds like a cheap like piece of cheap lawn furniture under pressure. So I expect them to be dialing that up against him. Melvin Ingram came in, had an impact right away, had a really, encouraging for that guy, dude. Like right out the gates to come out and just play. He had a play early on where I think he hit Jordan Love's arm and caused an incompletion. I don't know if that was like third down or if that was second and put him in third down and long. But Frank Clark looks like maybe he's getting healthy.
Looks good.
He's been looking good the last few games. He's been getting some pressures, had a couple sacks. I'm pretty sure he had at least one sack I know of last week. Then perhaps maybe the experiment of Chris Jones at defensive end is over. Right. He's back on the inside. They were asking him a little bit about that, and he didn't come out and say, "Yeah, no, I'm going to play." They were asking some of the other guys about it too. And it looks like he's going to be moving back inside, playing there. If you can get D Ford and Melvin Ingram going on the outside and Chris Jones on the inside of the defensive line, that changes the defense a lot.
100%. Yeah, a lot.
So, Derek Carr, you hit him a couple times. I thought it was funny. The Chargers played them, and Joey Bosa. He's like, well, you all know once you hit Derek, he's done for the night. So if we could get to him and
put his eyeliner on.
Yeah, maybe if we can get to him
Rudy
early,
on the sideline,
pressure him, hit him, get him rattled early. There, I saw that Deshaun Jackson said he's signing with the Raiders. Deshaun Jackson is not.
Who?
Deshaun Jackson.
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm well
What do
aware.
you mean who? So they we'll see what he's got left, but this is there for the taking. Chiefs, they need to win this game. They should win this game. I expect them to win. We'll wait till our Saturday pick 'em to give our scores, and we'll see. Maybe there's some developments. Maybe some things happen during the week here. So yeah, Raiders week. I love playing the Raiders. They're the Chiefs' nemesis. That's a top 2 or 3 rivalry in all sports. You think about some of the big time arch rivals. Chiefs Raiders are right up there, and that's even Yankees Red Sox in baseball, Chiefs Raiders in the NFL. That's always a fun time. I remember one time I went to a game, just real quick, and share a Chiefs Raiders story since it's Raiders week. Went to a game.
Don't forget Raiders fans and their parole officers as top rivalries.
Right.
Yeah.
I went to a Chiefs Raiders game at Arrowhead, and Raiders were winning the whole game. Raiders fans all around talking trash, talking smack, being Raiders. And right at the very end, they punted the ball away. Dante Hall, X Factor, returned it down into field goal range. I want to say that game was like Christmas Day or Christmas Eve.
This is going.
And they went down, won the game, kicked the game-winning field goal with no time left. One of the funnest, best moments I've ever had going to Arrowhead watching the Chiefs play. It was just so great. It was like looking around Raiders fans, just quiet, man. Like it was like someone ran over their dog, right? It had nothing to say. It was talking a ton of trash on the way out. So always a fun week. We've been putting some Raiders memes out there on the social media stuff on the Twitter, and I just love Chiefs Raiders week. I know you guys do too.
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, right before the Washington game, we were talking about, whether or not playoff contention was a thing for us or not. We've since gone 2-1 since. We were talking about how we only had a couple of games to give up. I honestly thought the Packers game was going to be one of those games that we're like, yeah, that's going to be one of the L's that we're going to take. But having since taken that, what are you guys thinking about this playoff picture right now? Like Scott brought up before, everybody in the AFC West is at 5 games. So, we're essentially playing for first place in the AFC West. We're right there for, first place AFC West, first place AFC with everything that happened this week. Who knows what these teams really are? That's what I was trying to say about that Week 9 joke. I don't know anything about football. I don't know anything about what this looks like anymore. What are you guys' takes? You guys think we have a shot? You guys think that first place is up for grabs?
Nick?
Well, who's you talking about? First place in the division?
First place in the AFC.
First place in the first seed. One seed right now is what, the Titans? I don't.
Now it is, but that's
I don't foresee them keeping that lightning in a bottle they had against the Rams. So yeah, I think everything's wide open right now. When the de facto best team in the conference loses to, the Jaguars and
Jags, yeah,
and Hansi Urban Meyer, who had never won a game in the United States before, right? He had won one game in London against the Dolphins. It's wide open. The Chiefs are as maybe as abysmal as the offense looked, like we were talking about. They're not that far off. They are Patrick Mahomes clicking away from being amazing on offense again, and the defense is showing some signs of life. Like they're figuring some stuff out. I know it's been against, some lesser competition, but man, they were getting at the quarterback. And I know it's Jordan Love, it's not Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't play on the offensive line, right? So, I think that they're right there. And the AFC looks like it's primed for the taking. And so I'm excited to see what we can do. We talked about this earlier in the year. I mean, if we win this week, we're 6-4, and the top seeds are looking like they're up for grabs still. I mean, it's pretty similar to where the team was just a couple of years ago, right? Like, it looked like, they had them. Everybody had the formula and it was figured out, and the Chiefs offense is solved. And then it was like, shit, no, it's not solved. It's not solved at all. So, I'm encouraged. But they've got to go out and take it. They've got to go out and execute, do the things, that they haven't been doing on the field. But yeah, it's right there, man. It's right there for anybody to grab in the AFC right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think the overall seed is going to be really tough for the Chiefs. Tennessee's
got overall number one.
Tennessee's 2 games ahead of us with the tiebreaker right now. The Ravens are a game ahead of us. I believe they have the tiebreaker over us. The Bills, they have the same record as the Chiefs, or they might be 1 game better than us now. They have the tiebreak. We've lost some AFC games I think are going to make it extremely difficult to end up as the 1 seed.
So if we came out champions of AFC West, that puts us 4, right? Or whatever the record would be at the end.
Right.
1 through 4, 2 through 4.
Depends on how many we lose, right? We could 2 or 3 seed isn't that far off, though.
No. Yeah, they definitely could win the division and get a home game, and maybe get a second home game. And maybe look at having to play the AFC Championship game on the road, or maybe luck out and first seed. We saw that happen with the Ravens a couple years ago, right? Chiefs were the 2, Ravens were the 1. Ravens lost at home to the Titans. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I do think Chiefs getting the 1 seed in the AFC is going to be really that's a long shot right now at this point.
They'd have to win out.
Yeah, they'd almost have to win out and have some other teams not lose out, but that lose. Tennessee surprised me, although that was a strange game. The Rams, they had they threw a pick 6, and they also had another turnover that was right at the goal line. So the Titans beat the Rams, but that was a closer game than it looked like.
That was, man, did you see that throw?
The Rams did some favors.
Stafford threw?
Right. Yeah.
What's that?
Did you see that pick that Stafford threw when he was in the end zone? He's trying to avoid the safety. I mean, that was bad.
So I don't know. We'll see if the Titans, like Nick said, can keep that up, winning. Especially against good competition without Derrick Henry. That was kind of a weird, fluky deal where the Rams had some terrible turnovers and awful parts of the field that gave the Titans short fields and field possession. Field position really was kind of the story in that game. But no, the Chiefs are right there, and like you said, with the Bills losing, and just you look at it, and the Chargers, and as far as the division goes, they had lost 2 straight, and they needed a last-minute field goal to beat the Eagles. So they're scuffling. They've kind of come back to earth a little bit here. That's wide open.
And then our schedule going through, though, I mean, like if you were to take week 9 being the standard, which was a weird week, and you look at our remaining schedule, like I thought our hardest competition was going to be the Cowboys going forward, right? But I mean, they looked absolutely terrible. And what Nick just said, like they have to win out. If week 9 is the standard now, like I don't see that being such a tall order anymore.
No, and you look at
possible.
Yeah, you look at the Chiefs' schedule the rest of the way, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but we got the Broncos twice, who I don't think are a good team. They took advantage of the Cowboys' defense, but they haven't really, outside of that one, a good. They've lost to all the good competition that they've had. We play, the Steelers at the end of the year. Steelers, they needed the referees to bail them out against the Bears last night. So, yeah, no, the playoffs it's wide open there for the taking. And even if you don't get the 1 seed, all these teams in the AFC that are supposedly so much better than the Chiefs, they've all got head-scratching losses, and the Chiefs don't. The Chiefs don't. Chiefs haven't lost to the Jags. Chiefs haven't lost to the Bears. Chiefs.
The only thing I would say to that is that
Steelers at
Titans
home.
lost where we couldn't score a touchdown.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's like
But
our only hiccup.
that's still the number one team in the AFC,
Right. That's I mean, my
Right.
point is the
And they're not the
Titans
same
lost to
team.
the Jets. So
Yeah.
all these teams that are supposedly so much better than the Chiefs and have passed the Chiefs in the AFC, they all have bad wins, and the Chiefs really don't. And they're a game or two behind these teams, having much tougher record and not having lost any games that they should have won. So
Right.
yeah, wide open, no doubt, for sure. But
God, I agree with you guys so much. I think it's wide open. I think it's
Big
right
game
there for the taking.
yeah, big game on Sunday Night Football against the Raiders there in Las Vegas. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think we got it for this week. That was fun.
Yeah, no, good show.
Yeah.
Nick?
Nope. Just F the Raiders. My daughter's next to me, so I'm not gonna say it the other way. But I'm just
She needs to learn someday, Nick.
I mean, she's 6, so it's got we're not Raiders fans, or we would be, right? I'm just excited, and like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll just end the season in disappointment. I just keep waiting for the Chiefs to just turn it on, and we've seen them do it before, right? Like with Andy Reid, and we went 1-5, and then we ripped off a bunch of wins, and won one out, and we have a better team now than we had then. So it's head scratching that we're not the number 1 seed right now, because I feel like we have the best team. It's just, there's just been some execution errors, as Patrick, has said. So we'll see how it goes, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to kick the Raiders' ass, and this is a good show. Had fun, guys. Thanks for everybody that commented too.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody that watched, tuned in. Even if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching the show. We appreciate it. We always ask to remind you to click that like and subscribe button. Helps the channel out. We'd love to have everybody come in here, talk Chiefs. We'll be back Saturday doing some picks. We'll pick some games. Maybe we can get an update and see where the season standings are. Maybe be thinking about, we're trying to figure out a reward and punishment for the winner and the loser of the picks. Still, we haven't really got that figured out. So
I'll have updated scores on Saturday too. Let us know where the standings are at. I'm still pretty sure they're the same though.
Right. Yeah. Just give us a watch this Saturday if you can. Tell your friends, tell your family, click that like, subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And until then, let's go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.